Mr. Davis, I think most of us up here know the story of Outbox. You took your time to give a very passionate speech about innovation, which I enjoyed listening to. But can you, in roughly a minute or so, tell us about what Outbox did and what happened, just the elevator speech version?
Absolutely. So Outbox enabled our users to view their postal mail from anywhere, so whether it's their iPhone or iPad, and they could tell us exactly what they wanted and what they did not want physically. So it's a hybrid approach in that regard. Mr. Issa is correct in that this is a fabulous idea. It should be adopted by the Postal Service. And we started testing it in Austin, Texas, with the idea that we would ask forgiveness, so to speak, before we ask permission, because the rules and regulations are so onerous. And we did so with great fanfare, and we were shut down in that meeting with the Postmaster General and his senior team. And in that meeting, we had a fundamental misunderstanding of who the customer is of the Postal Service. And he said, "Your customer is not my customer." And I said, "Mr. General, what do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, my customer is a sender of mail that essentially pays me to place mail on the kitchen tables of every American every day." And while true, that is not where the inherent value of the Postal Service lies. The value lies with its connection with every single American. And so it is my belief that large organizations and government, of which the Postal Service is in part both, do not naturally tend to adopting innovation because it does disrupt them. And so it was my hope and my business partner's hope that we could test this on a small scale within the Postal Service, but we were not allowed to. And so the only way that we can do this is if we have a safe harbor, something within the Postal Service that allows them to be disrupted on a small scale in localities around the country to test new ideas. And as I mentioned, our ability to give customers choice led to higher value. It led to increased understanding of who the real customer is, the American people, and led to value opportunities that were beneficial for the end user and beneficial for our company and ultimately the Postal Service.
Thank you very much. Mr. Eidmiller, you mentioned that you were unable to get your product classified as a machinable flat, and it actually became a parcel.
Yes, it was unclassified as machinable flat and magically became a parcel.
And that's more of a competitive service for the post office. I think you mentioned the amount of postage your flat would take.
Yes, yeah. As an example, and these are over-the-counter rates. This is a parcel rate for prescription vials, $2.22.
Right.
This is the over-the-counter rate for machinable flat, which is $1.56.
All right, but your new redesign, you went to UPS and you said they're delivering them for $1 a pop.
They've made an offer to put on the table at roughly $1, roughly.
So,
and the challenge we have, and when I brought them up, is we are a young startup, and we're investing our effort where we have opportunities to generate revenue. And while we think this is a great and wonderful idea, and a year ago put a lot of our emphasis in this, our business has pivoted slightly from that. So we've not, after getting stonewalled by the Post Office a year ago, we've not put a lot of interest in bringing this to market. But we've been in discussions and have a couple potential customers. UPS won't officially put a contract on the table until they have volumes and units and cost. But they say, yes, we believe in the package. We know we can do it for about $1. I asked them to submit something for the record. They declined to submit something for the record. We have it orally. We do not have it written. I was hoping to submit it, sorry, written.
I give the impression you'd rather use the Postal Service.
I would much rather use the Post Office. The Post Office has the infrastructure. The Post Office has the trust. The Post Office can put this envelope into every mailbox in the United States, legally, safely, securely. UPS can't do that. They have to leave it on a doorstep. The volume is there. The business is there. And, I'll take this to the end to the degree. This is a regular standard business size envelope. As a machinable flat, this is 90 cents over the counter. Drugs by mail for 90 cents. $2.22. There's hundreds of millions of dollars on the table. Now, as the only plausible reason that I can see that the Post Office says that we want it classified as this versus this is top-line revenue, because the top-line revenue of a parcel is higher than a flat. Well, in last year's strategic plan in 2013, I got this online, and what this says is that the Post Office makes 3 times more money on a flat than a parcel, 3 to 1. So the Post Office actually makes more money, if these numbers are correct, doing this at lower cost than doing this. 3 times more revenue. Why? Very simple. It fits in a flat tray. It's easy to automate. We've proven we can automate this. Their only case is that a square box in an envelope isn't a machinable flat. It meets every mechanical requirement of a machinable flat. We've tested it. We've volunteered to work with the Post Office to prove it.
Thanks. I appreciate it, and I'm not going to draw you into the debate whether or not a secure delivery location for your parcels would be a benefit to your company or not. I want to go to Mr. Weisberg for a second. Y'all are kind of a success story in working with the Post Office. Was the UPS supportive when y'all started out and came with the product?
Well, when we initially
Keep microphone.
When we initially started, it took a process of years of speaking with the Postal Service by us and other companies that wanted to do PC postage to convince the Postal Service to approve it and allow it to exist. There were people within the Postal Service who were encouraging, and there were others who were more discouraging. So
do you have any suggestions for how we could change the process of getting innovative products like Stamps.com to be adopted by the Post Office? You have some?
Yeah, we do think that it would make sense to add some protections to companies that come with new innovations to the Postal Service to make sure that the Postal Service doesn't unfairly compete and launch its own products compared to what those companies do. And we do very much support the concept of using public-private partnerships and having private industry players be able to come up with the best solutions that work well.
Right, so the Postal Service is actually now kind of competing with you with their click-to-ship product. That's got to be a little bit awkward in that they're your regulator and your competitor.
It is a very difficult position to be in when you invest a lot of time and effort in an industry into launching products. You're regulated by the Postal Service. You have to provide the Postal Service detailed information about how your products work, and then they launch a directly competitive product. That is difficult.
All right, let me get here to the other. We got a couple more questions to go. With respect to Outbox, Mr. Davis, one of the things that a service like Outbox has the potential to offer is targeted ads. I'm an avid Internet user, and I'll go shop for some dress shirts online, and all of a sudden just about every site I visit has an ad for dress shirts on it. And this is, highly targeted advertising is valued by advertisers. And the Postal Service talks about advertisers not getting their product delivered, but wouldn't a service like Outbox actually have more value to advertisers than a random catalog that your best hope is something on the cover strikes somebody's interest in the few seconds between mailbox and recycle bin?
Absolutely. As I said earlier, intent spending, intent on brand affinity is the holy grail of all advertising. And so you can imagine a digital ad piece that is actually free to present. So it's free to show that on a digital device to an end user. And then they can decide, do they want to engage with that or not. We did some very interesting tests with Kind Bar, with Starbucks Via Packets, small sample size products where we would present digitally an offer. Would you like to try out this new flavor of Kind Bar? And in some of our tests, we had as much as 50% engagement, which is astounding for any digital advertising piece. and people would say, yes, send this piece to me. I want to engage Kind Bar, and I want to try out this new product. And then we would deliver it to their front door the next day. To give you an idea on how much that's worth to a CPG, they average about $20 per sample product given to a new user of their product. So there's an enormous amount of money currently being spent on sampling products, but right now they're untargeted. You see someone out in front of a store, a grocery store, maybe on the side of the road. Here is a very powerful targeting tool.
Of course, that advertising would be revenue to Outbox and not the Postal Service. I guess the issue becomes, is there a model for something like this where a third party does it, or is it something that you develop the technology, then sell it to the Postal Service and they do it? I mean, was that kind of a feeling you got in your negotiations?
Right, right. Well, it's hard to unpack. It's such a complicated web of interest and politics and business models and mandates. But at the end of the day, there can be winners and winners. It does not have to be winners and losers. And it was our hope that if the Postal Service could not create this on their own or were too slow to do that, that an outside third-party company could develop it, spend private dollars to develop it, and then could either white label it or be a third-party contractor with the USPS.
All right.